All right, so this is just training, no frills, just training. I wanted to. My intentions on this day were to get all my warm up sets, record all my warm up sets for you guys because I think especially like early intermediates, mid level intermediates, when you haven't gotten to the point where you're pretty strong, it's pretty strong for you, right? People tend to use their warm-ups as a way to not just warm themselves up, but also tire themselves out. It's not until you get, again, like pretty strong for yourself that you're like, oh, hold up, let me make it to my working sets in one piece. But anyhow, so it started out as a normal day. I was going to get this footage for you guys. Things were like clicking. Like everything felt good. Stress, good place. Sleep, good place. Been eating enough. And yeah, sometimes like the gains gods just throw a lightning bolt upon you, and that's exactly what happened on this day. Everything felt good. Like I went from 2 plates, this was 2 plates, to 3 plates because I felt good, and this was going to be my working weight. I had ambitions of going for, I think, about 15 reps with this, and then I was going to taper it down and do 15 reps with just like 315, so like a top set but with like high reps. I've been undulating, like heavy week, light week, heavy week, light week with my RDLs, and out of nowhere, just like, it wasn't even a pop, it was more like a sensation. And I'm like, all right, well, obviously I stopped RDLing then, but right away I was like, okay, well, not right away. It took some moving around. So within 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, okay, this is, at least it's not anything in the spine itself. It was more of an erector issue. So because it's muscle, we're going to be okay. More on this later. So back's a little fried, but hey, I still got my bench press. Remember, I want 225 for a set of 20 at some point before my prep starts. And this is like my top single. This is me trying to get my base strength up, because I think I'm going to have to be able to close grip 315 for a rep with some in the tank before I can do 225 for 420. And that was my best, like 225 single RP8. I probably went over that by a little bit. It's probably more like a 9. And this is my back off work. 225 I think can fly for like 10, 12 reps now on a good day. So we're making ground. And I think by the end of October, 225 for like sets of like 13, 14, potentially is going to be in the cards. So we're moving in the right direction. So improvised work. Again, Operation 225 for 20 is close grip is going well. Improvised work. So instead of hinging, I opted for this great movement, kind of a forgotten movement. Just a single leg 45-degree hip extension. So I mean, I get plenty of reps here, but by the time I got to my last set, I think like 4 or 5 reps is all I could do, and this is me going into partials. Again, like left to right, I don't really respect each side's capabilities. Like both of y'all just do your thing. I used to like whatever the weak side did, I would do with the strong side when it comes to unilateral work, and I'm like, forget it. Y'all just do your thing, and honestly, the gaps have been more or less the same, and one less thing to think about. But yeah, this might stay in the rotation for the time being. I'm really digging this movement. So it's like a unilateral hinge, quite stabilized, quite comfy, very hamstring bias, which honestly, if I think about it, what do I need, more glutes or more hams? More hams, I'd say. Both are pretty good, but this might be what I go with until as my compound hinge movement, my big hinge movement, until I feel like that erector is 100%. I still will be getting some like hinging per how we think of hinging, more on that in a bit. But again, that was for the hamstring. And then this is going to be for the glute, the more glute bias leg press. Man, those socks are dying. Look at that heel. But the Arsenal leg press, like at first I was kind of iffy about this thing. Oh, no, this is the Rogue. Okay, the Rogue. The Arsenal is very similar. But when it comes to hip bias leg pressing, it's got the nice little platform so you can do quad bias work too. But man, do you feel stable? I think because that pad is so big. But man, like I am digging this movement, like the stability that I feel in this B stance, the pump. I think the pump does matter, but not because you look cool, but more so because it means that you're targeting what you think you're targeting. The pump after this is just insane. So yeah, hip bias leg press, which basically means my heel stays under my knee, and I try to keep it there instinctively. It's crazy. I want to, like me personally, because I'm pretty strong with my quads. Like it's crazy. I am actively fighting to not get more range of motion because crazy, it makes the movement so much easier. So yeah, and then for the sake of some little extra glute work, just because again that 45-degree back extension fries my hamstrings. Started playing with this, a more knee bent, so more hip biased version of a Romanian deadlift, and wow, like this is, I've never felt a stretch like this in my glutes. I'm not just saying it out of hype. Like I think when I do go back to Romanian deadlifting, I'll do 2 sets there. And again, my stance is more hamstring bias there, but I'll finish off with these, like 2 sets there, 2 sets here, just to keep things like, righteous. But yeah, I'm digging that movement. And I'm not too tore up. So obviously that was the week after. I can do 120s without a belt. I'm going to be okay. This is, in the meantime, how I am doing my diagonal pull down, just because on the my typical setup where I bring the bench, there's just a little bit more twisting going through that erector than I like right now. But it's so crazy, man. Like 2 things, and this is the main lesson I want to drive home for this one, is we almost use this as B-roll. Train muscle, like muscle that is weight trained, bounces back from injury so efficiently. Like it's crazy how that works. So that's one, it's kind of a side perk of this. It's like if you ever have an injury that is muscular, it's just crazy how quickly you bounce back. Secondly, I think these things are bound to happen, and it's crazy. The first few times it happens, you do kind of like panic, and you start thinking about like all the worst outcomes that can come from this. But then you go through enough of these. Really proud of this, by the way. Cambered bar, 205 for sets of 4. I think 05, whatever. But yeah, eventually you've been through enough of these, because again, if you're going hard, things are bound to happen, and you kind of like, it's just crazy. You understand the procedures. You know how to roll out the lifeboats. You know how to go about it, and if anything, I almost find these situations like, I guess the silver lining, it's like, I don't know, like working out in a very a kind of terrible hotel gym, right? Where it's like, all right, I'm about to like jimmy rig things and I'm gonna make it happen here. Very similar to that. Like whenever I do get hurt in a way, it's a time to really test out my skill set, see what it is that I can come up with. And yeah, it feels nice to feel so, obviously I'd rather not be injured, but it feels nice to know that, oh, I'm quite competent when it comes to this, that we can figure out a way. And not only that, but just like your attitude when it comes to this, it's like, 1, we're going to turn this into a learning experience. 2, I'm quite confident that I'm going to find a very efficient way to like heal up. And 3, I'm like, I guess it's not my fault. Things are just going to happen every once in a while if you're going hard with it. That's a big one, man, because I think that's where people live for way too long after these things happen. But yeah, even my like lat row, you can see a little lumbar bend there. I'm gonna be okay. But yeah, that's where I'm at with my training. Boo-boo, but it seems like it's not gonna do much in the long term. And yeah, and if anything, this ain't the last time it's gonna happen. And when it does, again, it's gonna be a learning experience. I know that if I if I know what I think I know, I'm going to find the most efficient way to get back to training the way I want to. And three, it's not my fault. If you're going hard, these sort of things are going to happen at some point. They shouldn't happen too frequently, but they're going to happen. So yeah, that's how I'm doing. We have, let's see, this month of October, and then sometime in November, I start my setup diet so that I can prep next year. And this time, yeah, I'm not sitting out on the sideline. We're gonna prep next year. So about 6 weeks left of true off season. Again, the setup diet is just so I don't start too fat come next prep. And I really only have, I don't know, like 10, 12 pounds to lose. We'll break that down in the next video, but this is how things are going in my world right now.